Shabbat Shalom to everybody. Shabbat Shalom. Misha Nichnas Adar. We're in the month of Adar, and so we get a chance to sing those words that come from the Talmud that remind us that when the month of Adar begins, that we increase our joy. And so tonight, in addition to having the opportunity to celebrate Shabbat, we're also increasing our joy because it's the month of Adar, the month in which we celebrate the holiday of Purim. And Purim is coming this coming Thursday night, and so we're increasing our joy. Shabbat Shalom. It's great to see everybody. We're in Shabbat. The sky is dark, and Shabbat has arrived. And the question is, are we ready to greet Shabbat? Are we ready to? It's not only have Shabbat arrived, but have we arrived at Shabbat? Are we able to be present in this moment, to find joy, to put aside all of the work and all of the tasks that we're engaged in and that we think, make up the fabric of our lives, but actually Jewish tradition says, put them aside for 24, 25 hours once a week, just to experience rest and renewal for our lives. So that's the question is, have we arrived? So I hope that you will have arrived. And if you have your Shabbat candles, we want to encourage you to get them ready if they're not ready, and to light our Shabbat candles with us. So please light your Shabbat. I see that the Clouds have their candles all in front of them. That's great, right in front of the camera. Good news. Please join us as we light the candles of Shabbat. And please join with our rabbinic intern and vocalist, Leah Karnow, in reciting the blessing.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner Shel Shabbat.
Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom. Let's sing to increase our joy a little bit more. We'll greet the angels of Shabbat. Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet. Please join us at home.
Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon, Melech, Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu.
Our hearts need Shabbat. We need to purify our hearts and find purity and goodness in our hearts. And Shabbat is not just something that we go through the motions for, right? Just perform the rituals, but Shabbat is very much about bringing it into your heart and finding goodness, and purity. So we'll sing these words from the Psalms. Lev tahor, brali Elohim, brali lev tahor. Create a pure heart in me, great Spirit. Create a pure heart in me. We're almost ready to sing the Lechadodi and to come and greet Shabbat and to welcome Shabbat. But before we do, we're starting a new practice inspired by our Jewish Poetry Festival, which is organized by Deb Leipziger. It's such a beautiful tradition. And inspired by that, I just thought, oh my goodness, there's so much beautiful Jewish poetry appropriate for Shabbat. Let's take the opportunity on Friday nights to be inspired by it. So I want to share this Shabbat poem for tonight by Richard Chess. He writes this: bless us with peace, angels of peace. The window's curtain drawn back, 6 panes of nightfall reflect wan faces that recall the week and what it sorely lacked. Humor, cash, good health. Candlelight cannot cure all ills, nor can wine, a few drops of which spill from the uplifted cup like excessive wealth. But by the prayer with which we unveil the braided breads, rise like our pride in being chosen to receive Shabbat, our spirits heal. Stuffed on chalot, our double portion, we ease into the next course of fortune. Please join me as we sing the words of the Lechadodi to greet Shabbat. Shamor v'zachor v'dibor echad yishmihanu el hameyuchad Adonai echad u'shemo echad l'shem u'tiferet v'letzilah Light, high, la, 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 Echadoti. Light, high, la, 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 Likrat kala, Likrat Shabbat, Lechu v'nelcha. Light, high, la, 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 lecha, doni. Light, high, la, 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 Likrat kala, hitoreri, hitoreri. Light, high, la, 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 lecha, doni. Light, la, 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 Likrat kala. Fourth and final verse, I invite you to prepare to receive and greet Shabbat. Boi v'shalom, atzeret oala, gam v'simcha, od zola, toch emunei, am segula. Now I invite you to take a deep breath, close your eyes, and feel where you are, and to breathe in now, a deep breath, breathe in the blessing and the rest of Shabbat. Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom. It's so wonderful to be here all together. Now we want to give you the opportunity to greet each other in breakout rooms with a handful of other people, to wish each other Shabbat Shalom, to greet each other, and to introduce yourselves if you don't know one another. So hit join breakout room, and we'll call you back in just a few moments after you've had the chance to introduce and greet one another for Shabbat. Okay, Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Let me see if I can get Ruth hearing this.
Oh, great. And welcome to all of the people who are watching us on Facebook Live. I think all 3 or 4 of you. We're glad to have you here too. And if you're on Facebook Live and you're watching, put a little note in the chat, put a little comment in so that we know who you are and that you're with us tonight. All right? Good. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom, Laura.
Can you hear this?
Okay. I think I'm going to close the breakout rooms. Give everybody 60 seconds. Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom. Okay, about 15 more seconds and everyone will come back. Okay, welcome everybody. Welcome back. And it's great to see, again, it's great to see people from all over the country here. We have people, I think, in Brookline and Newton and JP and Alabama and Texas. And it's great to see everybody here. So Shabbat Shalom. Hope you got a chance to greet people and to introduce yourself. Maybe you met some new folks. We're going to continue now with the call to prayer. We're a community. We need to call each other into prayer. And so we do so with the Baruch Hu. And if you wish to rise, please do. be seated, and together we'll recite the evening prayer for creation, thanking God for the cycles of life of which we're always a part. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bidvaro ma'ariv aravim, bechokma poteach sha'arim, uvitvuna mishane itim, umachalif et hazmanim, umisader et hakochavim, b'mishmerotehem barakia kirtzono. Bore yom v'layla golel or mipnei choshech, v'choshech mipnei or, uma'avir yom umevi layla, umavdil bein yom uvein layla, Adonai Tzivaot Shemo.
El Chai v'Kayam, Tamid Yimloch Aleinu Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Atah
Baruch Kadosh
Adonai,
Shemo.
Hamari V'Ravi.
Amen. We concentrate on the words of the Shema, proclaiming the oneness of all being, the oneness of which we're a part as well. Everything is one through the one God.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. 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 Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto, Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto, Le'olam Va'ed. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto, Le'olam Va'ed.
We'll chant together.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובמלאכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אדוני אלוהיכם אמת.
Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom, V'amidenu shomrenu lechaim. We pray for our protection, for protection of all those whom we love, for everything that we love through the nighttime. Please join us.
Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu leshalom Vehamidenu shomreinu lechaim Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu leshalom Vehamidenu shomreinu lechaim Ushmoat Seitenu Uvoenu Lechaim Shalom Me'ata me'ad olam Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu leshalom Vehamidenu shomreinu lechaim Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu leshalom Vehamidenu shomreinu lechaim Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu leshalom Vehamidenu shomreinu lechaim.
V'shamru v'nei Yisrael et HaShabbat, lasot et HaShabbat ledorotam, that in every generation we affirm our connection to Jewish tradition, affirm our connection to creation, affirm our connection to God by bringing Shabbat into our lives. Please join us with the V'shamru.
Veshamru b'nei Yisrael et HaShabbat la'asot et HaShabbat ledorotam merit olam. Veshamru b'nei Yisrael et HaShabbat la'asot et HaShabbat ledorotam merit olam. Beini uvein bnei Yisrael, oti leolam, oti leolam. Veshamru bnei Yisrael et HaShabbat, la'asot et HaShabbat ledorotam merit olam. Ki sheshet yamim asa Adonai et hashamayim et haaretz v'shamru b'nei Yisrael et HaShabbat la'asot et HaShabbat ledorotam merit olam. Uvayom hashvi Shabbat vayinafash, Shabbat vayinafash, Shabbat vayinafash. Join me singing Veshamru b'nei Yisrael et HaShabbat la'asot et HaShabbat ledorotam merit olam. Veshamru b'nei Yisrael et HaShabbat la'asot et HaShabbat ledorotam merit olam.
Okay, we'll begin the next section of the service, which is our Amidah, our standing prayer, with first a meditation saying, "Please, God, give me this. this opportunity, let me truly open my heart in prayer. Adonai sifatai tiftach, open my mouth, that my mouth can really be reciting the words of my heart. And then we'll continue with the Avot ve'imachot prayer as is our practice. So for this section, if you wish to rise, I encourage you to do so. As is traditional, please rise for our Amidah. Adonai sifatai tiftach ufi yagid tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips, that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, ve'Elohei avotenu ve'imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, ve'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, ve'Elohei Leah. Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor ve'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, Ve'Konei Hakol, Ve'Zocher Chaste Avot ve'Imahot, Umevi Geula Livnei Vneihem, Leman Shemo B'Ahava, Melech Ozer Umoshia Omagein. Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham, Vezrat Sarah. Now I invite you, whether you're standing or seated, to take a few moments for your own personal silent prayer. What prayer is in your heart on this particular Shabbat? Take a few moments to pray silently.
Yehudim, Haytorah, Haytorah, Vesimcha, Vesason, Veikar. Yehudim, Haytorah, Haytorah, Vesimcha, Vesason, Veikar. Ken tielanu, tielanu, tielanu. Ken tielanu, tielanu, tielanu. La Yehudim, Haytorah, Haytorah, Vesimcha, Vesason, Veikar.
Beautiful. Thank you, Leah. A little bit of a preview for Purim because those words that we just sang, Lahudim, Haita Orav, Simcha V'Sason, Vikar, come from the Purim Megillah, from the Megillat Esther, from the 8th chapter, as you might have seen on the screen. And so very appropriate also for the Shabbat before Purim, when we bring the light of creation in. So thank you, Leah, for that beautiful preview for Purim. And now we're going to take the opportunity to ask God's blessing for people who are in our hearts, who are dealing with illness. And we ask God to bless them with refuat nefesh, refuat guf, healing of body and healing of spirit. And of course, our thoughts are very much with those who've been struck by the pandemic in various ways. We're also very aware that some of the ways that the pandemic has affected us are beyond physical, right? We're very aware of the mental health issues that have arisen for people because of being isolated during the pandemic and many other things. And so we're asking God's blessing for all those who are suffering from those kinds of illnesses to be granted healing and wholeness. And then there's so many other ways that the pandemic has struck us, including communities of color and less advantaged communities who have really been struck hard by this pandemic. So we're asking God's blessing for all of them. And for all who are dealing with any kind of illness, we ask God's blessing for health and life and blessing. On this Shabbat, in addition to those whom we're naming in the chat, and I invite you to name others in the chat, we're thinking and asking God's blessing for Karen Matheny, Robin Barinholtz, Aby Haupt, June Zeiner, Jim Zeiner, Jody Kleiman, Gilbert Kleiman, Ronnie Meckler, Allison Santucci, Meredith Fine, Luann Luce, Ben Slavitt, Evelyn Opat, Samantha Kramer, Ann Fenton, Nancy Benak, Marjorie Hominoff, Don David ben Ezer V'chaya, Michael ben Bluma Ushmuel, Shoshana bat Moshe Ubella, Shoshana bat Chana Umeir, Pinchas ben Miriam, Davida Emanuela bat Yechezkel Ephraim, Ephraim ben Malka Rachel, Hanan Ashre ben Moshe Umiriam, Yeira bat Sarah, Chaya Sheva bat Bela, Liora Maya bat Dvora Leah Umedad Dani, and Shmuel ben Lev. May God bless them all with healing, with health, with life, and with wholeness. And together now we'll sing the words that Moses sang. Moses said in the book of Numbers when his sister Miriam became ill, Ana Elna Refanala. Please God, bless them all with healing. Refuah Shlema. Together we all say Amen. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Okay, so Shabbat Shalom to everybody. A word about this week's Torah portion. So this week's Torah portion is the night before, the Shabbat before Purim is where we are. It gets a special name. In the Jewish calendar, it's actually called Shabbat Zachor, which means the Shabbat of remembering. And on the Shabbat Zachor, the Shabbat before Purim, in traditional synagogues, an additional Torah portion is read. So we're following the regular course of Torah portions. We're making our way through the book of Exodus. And when we get to Shabbat Zachor, we also scroll forward for a little bit to read a little section from the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 5, that says, Zachor et asher asalacha Amalek baderech tzeitchem mitzrayim. Remember. And that's the key there. That's why it's called Shabbat Zachor, because the first word of this passage is Zachor. Remember what Amalek did to you on your journey after you left Egypt, how undeterred by fear of God, he surprised you on the march when you were famished and weary and cut down all the stragglers in your rear. And therefore it says, Timche et zecher Amalek mitachat hashamayim lo tishkach. You shall blot out the memory of Amalek from under heaven. Do not forget. And this is where we actually get Amalek is seen as the archetypical anti-Semitic enemy of the Jewish people through the ages. And it turns out that Haman, the bad guy of the Purim story, this coming Thursday that we'll read, is specifically named in the Bible as a descendant of Amalek. So when it says, Timche et zecher Amalek mitachat hashamayim, blot out the memory of Amalek, that's where we get the tradition of blotting out the name of Haman whenever his name is read on the evening of Purim. So we have a passage in the book of Deuteronomy that is clearly and specifically about remembering anti-Semites and anti-Semitism and hatred in the world. And of course, this passage is deeply relevant to us this year, as it is in many years. We see in our own time the rise of hatred in America, including the rise of anti-Semitism, hate crimes against African Americans, against Asian Americans, against Muslims, against immigrants in general. And of course, that's a legacy of the Trump era that we're going to be dealing with for a very, very long time. And recent events like Charlottesville and the attacks on synagogues that were targeting Jews, the recent takeover of the Capitol building, which was perpetrated by white supremacist groups who are carrying the Confederate flag into the nation's capital, reminds us of how serious and how violent and how real the bloom of hatred is. And even more troubling is how few Americans remember. A recent study that was published in September 2020 tells us that 2/3 of young American adults do not know that 6 million Jews were killed during the Holocaust, an astounding figure. 2/3 of young adults. That 10% actually believe that Jews caused the Holocaust, and nearly 1/4 of American young adults believe that the Holocaust is either a myth or is greatly exaggerated. So now, more than ever, it's important for us to remember, to teach how destructive hatred is, what the history of hatred is, both against Jews and against people of color in America, and how that history is still with us, how words have meaning and impact on how people act and behave. And we have to remember. So that's what we get from Shabbat Zachor. But there's another point I want to make too, because another important idea about Shabbat Zachor. It's about the name of Shabbat Zachor. Shabbat Zachor is a really interesting pairing, Shabbat Zachor, the Shabbat of remembering, because there is actually a commandment that reverses those two words. A commandment that's found in the Torah is Zachor et Yom HaShabbat. these are words that are found in the 10 Commandments in Exodus chapter 20. Zachor et Yom HaShabbat lekodsho. Remember the day of Shabbat to make it holy. And so what I want to say is that also that it says to make it holy, that mitzvah reminds us that the essence of Jewish identity is about engaging in holy activities in our lives, like Shabbat, and making sure that we don't forget to do so continually. In fact, the great medieval commentator from Spain, whose name is Ovadia Sforno, he writes this. He says, the commandment to remember Shabbat means to feel the holiness of Shabbat every day of the week, not just one day a week, but every day of the week, remembering that the essential task of being Jewish is to imbue every day with holiness and to remember through our daily practice that God's presence is in the world and in our lives. And I want to put these two things together, right? Shabbat Zachor and Zachor Shabbat. Because the thing is that there are some segments of the Jewish community that actually have no problem at all remembering anti-Semitism around us, right? In fact, their focus on it constitutes the entirety of their Jewish identity, fighting anti-Semitism and seeing an anti-Semite under every rock. And so I think we have to be careful here. We have to strike the right balance between Shabbat Zachor and Zachor Shabbat. We have to strike the right balance between remembering Amalek, remembering anti-Semites and anti-Semitism and hatred, versus remembering Shabbat, remembering that we're a spiritual community, that we are called to be engaged in bringing holiness into our lives and holiness into the world, that we have to continually return to the core of Jewish tradition, Jewish prayer and practice, so that we meet God in awe and wonder and joy. That's the essence of being Jewish, not fighting anti-Semitism. But we have to serve our Creator and do so with all humankind. To do that, we have to have our own spiritual centering in our own lives, because the Torah knows that when it tells us to remember Shabbat, to make it holy, that we actually need that reminder. We need that reminder to come back to our core, because it's tempting to drift from that. So with that, let me wish you a good Shabbat Zachor and a good opportunity to Zachor Shabbat, to remember Shabbat as well. And I want to wish you a true Shabbat Shalom. May you find holiness and goodness and peace in your life and in connection with the one of the universe. Shabbat Shalom. Now we're going to turn to our concluding prayers. First with the Aleinu, and Leah is going to lead us to as we recall that it's our task to bring oneness into the world, to bring tikkun, healing and wholeness into the world through our actions and also in our own spiritual lives. Please rise.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שהוא נוטה שמיים ויוסד ארץ, ומושב יקרו בשמיים ממעל, ושכינת עוזו בגובהי מרומים, הוא אלוהינו אין עוד, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. על כן נקווה לך אדוני אלוהינו לראות מהרה בתפארת עוזך, לתקן עולם במלכות שדי, ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו ושמו אחד.
Before we recite the Mourner's Kaddish, we recall all those whose yahrzeits fall this week in the Jewish calendar and who are in our hearts, along with so many others. Those whose yahrzeits we observe this week: Louise Serber Bernheimer, Yitzhak Berzov, Dr. Louis Case, Evelyn Cohen, Samuel Israel Cooper, Joseph Edinburgh, Ruth Gascoigne, Emmanuel Gilbert, Rose Goldman, Bernard Greenblatt, Reuben Hardoon, Jules Jansen, Jacob Kleiman Trimble, whose yahrzeit falls this week in the Jewish calendar, Goldie Papp Lerner, Samuel Levine, Richard McNeish, Seymour Mazer, Ruth Goodman Oser, Ida Papp, Sandy Periski, Rachel Pazer, Leon Pook, Lois Campbell Potter, Aaron Rabinowitz, Raymond M. Ross, Marvin Rumpler, Lillian Cates Seaman, Florence Templer, Elizabeth Tischler, Sigmund Kittner Waldorf, Ethel Blank Weinstein, Pauline Sherman Weintraub. And in the period of Shloshim, the past 30 days, we recall these individuals and we extend our condolences to their family members. We remember Amy Seltzer Perlman, cousin of our member Stephen Seltzer, and Evelyn Seltzer, who is Amy's mother, aunt of Stephen Seltzer. And if you would like to have the opportunity to name others in the chat, please name them that way, or you can recite their names out loud. Together as a community, we rise and recite the words of the Mourner's Kaddish, recalling the presence of life and love and goodness in the world is a representation, a manifestation of God's presence in the universe and in our own lives. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, be'alma divra chirutei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayechon uvyom echon, uv'chayei dechol beit Yisrael, ba'gala uvizman kariv ve'imru Amen. Yehi shmei Rabbah mevarach le'olam u'lalmei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yithalal shmei dekudesha brichu le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata damiran be'alma v'imru Amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shamaya v'chayim alenu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru Amen. Osei shalom bimromav hu ya'aseh shalom alenu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'al kol yoshvei tevel ve'imru Amen. Amen. Please be seated. Shabbat shalom to everyone. So glad that you're joining us tonight, and hope that this will be a beautiful Shabbat for you. Now it's my pleasure to call on Charlie Homer, who is president of Temple Sinai, for some Shabbat announcements. Charlie.
Great. Thank you so much, and Shabbat Shalom to all. I hope everyone is staying safe and staying warm. We have a number of wonderful programs coming up over this weekend. Just want to let people know about them. Tomorrow, supporting mindful practice at 9:30 a.m. This evening, as Jeremy Wolf is putting into the chat, we also have the Oneg and invite people to join us for that, as we do after every Friday evening service. But again, as I mentioned, tomorrow morning, we do have supporting mindful practice at 9:30 a.m. On Sunday, we have several programs. At 9:30 on Sunday, we have a program on poems from the prayer book and exploration. And I think all of us are now inspired about poetry between Amanda Gorman and our recent Temple Sinai-based New England Poetry Festival that we've had. I hope everyone will come and join us for that session. We also have later on Sunday at 1 p.m. a session on exploring gender in the Purim story, a program led by Rabbi Talia Stein. I'm sure it'll be fascinating and encourage people to join for that. And later in the day on Sunday at 3 p.m., Building Bridges, Temple Sinai and Reform Judaism in Israel, and will specifically focus that session on Sephardic music in the Israeli Reform liturgy. You've already heard that on Thursday night we have Purim, and I'm sure the rabbi will mention more about that, the wonderful set of wonderful activities for that. So with that, Shabbat Shalom.
All right, Shabbat Shalom. Charlie, thank you very, very much. Yes, we're getting ready for Purim. As you may be able to see behind me, we want to make sure everyone's got their hamantashen ready. Purim begins Thursday night at 6:30. We've got all sorts of different things going on. Many people signed up to be Mystery Mordechai Mishloach Manot. We want to thank Judith Jaffe for coordinating that, and people will be getting lots and lots of delicious treats. At 6:30, we'll be singing, reading the Megillah. We have a special appearance by the Boobies. We want to make sure that you join us for another return of the Boobies, led by the major Booby, who is Diane Ripstein. So you do not want to miss that. And we'll also, in addition to reading the Megillah in English and sections with Hebrew, we also will have our 2-minute talent show. We've got a number of people signed up for all sorts of variety of acts, and that'll be a great way to celebrate too. So we want to encourage everyone to join us for Hamantashen and Purim on Thursday night. All right. Thank you again to our rabbinic intern and vocalist Leah Karnow for beautiful, beautiful music this evening. We're going to conclude now with Kiddush, and then we'll also do blessings for each other before we make motzi. So Leah, lead us please in our prayer to pronounce Shabbat holy with grape juice and wine.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu v'shabbat kodsho be'ahava uvratzon hinchilanu zikaron lema'aseh v'reishit ki hu yom techila lemikra'e kodesh zecher letziat mitzrayim kivanu v'acharta ve'otanu kidashta mikol hamim ve'shabbat kodshecha be'ahava uvratzon hinchaltanu. Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh haShabbat.
Amen. L'chaim. L'chaim.
L'chaim.
All right.
You have
It's
to
a
wait
Jewish...
till next week for the hamantashen.
That's right. Well, that's right. You can begin to taste them in your mind. How's that? All right, good. We want to take the opportunity to bless everybody and for everyone to experience the blessing of one another. So I'm going to invite you to take a look at the screen if you can see all of the people who are here, and to raise your hands in the classic blessing pose. The ancient position of blessings, raising the hands and asking God's blessing for one another. And so we recite these words with Leah to ask God's blessing for each other, and also to feel the blessing that's coming from all of the people in the community towards each one of us.
Yevarechecha Adonai ve'yishmerecha. Ya'er Adonai panav elecha v'chuneka. Yisa Adonai panav elecha ve'yasem lecha shalom. We bless each other with shalom, 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 shalom.
bless you and protect you. May God shine light upon you and be good to you. May God smile upon you and bless you in this Shabbat with the blessing of Shalom, peace and wholeness. Amen. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom to everyone. And let's conclude with the Motzi. One thing I just want to remind you is when you come to Purim on Thursday night, if you want to wear a costume or some other kind of wacky clothing, you can. We definitely encourage you to do that. At least wear a funny hat, which will, because you'll be seen from the shoulders up. So definitely come in some kind of costume Thursday night, 6:30 p.m. For Purim, dressed for Purim. Here we go. Please join me in the blessing over challah. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. Shalom.
Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom, everyone. You can continue Neoneg. Shabbat shalom.